One, Dorsey's Resource. Welcome, everyone. Greetings. First, before we get started, I'm going to give a disclaimer. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please understand everyone's individual circumstance or situation may be different. It's up to every individual competent person. If you feel that the information being discussed you don't agree with, keep in mind it's up to one to do his own homework and research. This information is not to be construed as legal advice. If you need to seek a professional securities broker, accountant, consultant, a lawyer, or whomever, please do so at one's own leisure. Dorsey's Resource is not responsible or liable for any misuse of this information. These are simply my opinions on the topic. So with that being said, all rights are reserved. Now, I wanted the topic of this video to be, uh, the topic is going to be, is the secret SSN account real? It's something I've been following for the past couple months and a half, and I've been seeing a lot of misinformation out there about the so-called secret TDA account, or TDA is an acronym for Treasury Direct Account, or saying that there's people out there that say that there's an account that exists at the Federal Reserve and also at the U.S. Treasury, which they have an alliance with the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve they issue those routing numbers, as you can see when you go on the Federal Reserve's website, FRB services. But keep in mind, if you study government economics, banking, finance, which is taught in major college universities and other areas of studies, you will understand that many of the Washington D.C. government agencies are related. They're like family. They're brother and sister. From the Securities Exchange Commission to the Federal Trade Commission, all of these different agencies are related. And I see some disturbing things going on when I'm reading these articles, and they're saying that these accounts are not real, they don't exist. And in my opinion, and from the information that I'm going to go over in this video, that they are real. And I'm going to start with, I'm going to use a screen capture where I did give a disclaimer where I went over the use of Fair Use Acts for this video, because I'm going to go over some information that appears to be sensitive, but this is public domain because this is online, and this is information that, as you can see from up here, I typed in on Yahoo. I put original Social Security card images because I was watching Willow Green Song's video. She's been an up and coming YouTuber that's been covering this topic dealing with the TDAs, and she showed in the video her grandfather's Social Security card and how the it said account number on there. So I said, wow, I did used to hear that. I heard that a while back. So this proves that I'm going to go into the evidence that it's not only an identification number, because you have some naysayers and people out there, some debunkers, people that say, well, it's just only for identification. And I'm just going to go over some basics. When you go open up a bank account, what is the main thing that they ask for? Or you apply for governmental assistance, like for food stamps, or also known as bridge card, or some other type of card in other states to receive benefits to assist you. Those are also benefit privileges, but I won't go into all of those specific details. But what is the main thing that they are asked for when you get utilities set up? They're tapping into your account, and you're going to see why as I'm going to cover the information later. But from this screen capture, you guys can pull these different images up. I saw somewhere where I scrolled down further, and mighty interesting how I may have mentioned in the other video how if you look at the dollar bills and look at the back of your SSN card and see what letter of the Federal Reserve Bank it corresponds to, yes, you are being traded. And you might be wondering, I'm going to go over the evidence why these accounts are real. There was one guy I was listening to recently who he was on Gary Laraby's channel. I can't think of his name offhand. uh, Matter of fact, it just came to me. Bert Curvier. If you watch the video, Gary Larrabee has some real good information. And the guest that he was interviewing, his name was Bert. And this guy, Bert, mentioned he looked up his deceased brother's account on, I think, Treasury Direct site, or either Fidelity. I think it was Treasury Direct. and he saw, because his brother was deceased some years ago, but he got a hold of his social security card and looked his account up and found that it was still collecting interest. And I remember me myself personally, I looked up my BC some years back on Treasury Direct. Some people say you can do this on Fidelity, but I hear what Fidelity started doing is they require a membership now to sign up to be able to utilize that. But I looked mine up and saw it showed the amount my bond was trading at. Because remember, the SSN number is also a CUSIP number that is connected to your BC. BC stands for birth certificate, or also you can look at it as a bond certificate. And some people might be wondering why they're not familiar with this information or they've never heard of this before. It doesn't mean that it's not real. Just because you've never taken business and law, finance, accounting, or economics. And some of the information in certain college classes, unless you know which classes specifically, and the instructors might not cover certain chapters too, because the how the semesters are condensed and these books are really thick. I've noticed from my previous college experience. So for those out there, people may be unaware. Some people don't take these classes because they're involved in other majors that don't require these classes, because some of these classes could be you can take as electives. You have something called electives. Those are classes that are not in your major. But I was explaining to a friend of mine from a collegiate perspective when his mother-in-law or other individuals tried to discredit the information that I present or he presents, that they're not even on our level. They try to act like they take rank over us. And what's sad is they have college degrees, and some of them are even higher than the level that I got my degree at. I just got an associate's, but I learned more, and the redemption of the sovereign movement taught me more than my college classes actually helped teach me. And you have to have a certain skill set. I'm not trying to brag, but I'm brilliant. I was years ago, I was a perfect straight A student in 8th grade. I had the highest scores in the class at a school I went to. The teacher went by a percentage system at the time. And my freshman year, following year, I had all A's and B's. I won't go into the details, but I started late um, or whatnot. High school was a whole nother level. I won't get into that. But I do research into things, and I've been noticing the reason I said very disturbing information from reading these articles that are trying to say that these accounts are not real. Now I'm going to go, if you follow me so far on this screen capture, here's a governmental agency that's connected, basically the Bureau of Public Debt. They also use Bureau of Fiscal Service, and it says U.S. Department of the Treasury. And if you recall, Mike O'Brien did a video a while back. He puts out excellent information to cover the TDA secret accounts and things that show the definition of the Bureau of Public Debt, which mentioned it's a division of the Department of Treasury. Remember, I was saying earlier, all these governmental agencies are connected. Now, if you scroll down and pause real quick, I'm going to use this as an example because I'm going to go to another link that I bookmarked that is also another government related site. Now you see we're on this site. Not sure what the acronym up here stands for. I see some of it is U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and Office of Child Support Enforcement. I'm going to scroll down, but I'm going to show you. It says, you see how this site is giving you examples how to identify treasury checks. And I'm going to scroll down so you guys can see. Now follow me now. And then I'm going to take you to another part that I pulled up. Okay, now you guys can see this image right here. I'm going to scroll up real quick. It says Treasury Paycheck Examples. You see, this is public information, public domain. So under the Fair Use Act, which I put in the disclaimer, I'm going to put and post in this video to verify the proof that these accounts are real. I'm building you up for something that I'm going to prove to you why these accounts are real. Now, I scrolled over, you can scroll through different images. Some of these images are savings bonds, treasury bills, etc. See, some of these are, and this is the image from the other site. I just wanted you guys to see this is public domain so you all can look this up. And I'm going to mention it's going to be important. Make sure you document these videos in case they get taken down, or YouTube. And that's for anybody's channel that puts out valuable information, because they're not going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, all of these notices that you've been seeing from the Federal Reserve and the Treasury or different governmental agencies to tell you that no secret account exists is a bunch of lying to you. They're misleading the general public, and here's the evidence. If you look at this instrument, this appears public domain. I don't know who this is, but you can see some of the information. It's blocked out, but this is a Treasury check where someone, people will receive their refund checks uh, for during tax season. And you study this instrument. If you look at the top, you can see that this is the check number over here, and you look at these identification numbers on the right hand side. Now, right here where I'm pointing the arrow, this is the routing number for the Treasury, one of the routing numbers, this particular one. And you can verify routing numbers, by the way. You can look them up on usbanklocations.com. That's a site. And then there's other sites. And this particular one I looked up, it didn't pull up on that site because this is used, I guess, for different types of specifically check payments. This particular type of routing number, it's not used. They have different purposes, but as you can see, this is one that's through the Treasury's individual identification routing number, because under the ABA, American Bankers Association, there's a connection with the Federal Reserve. But as you can see right here, right next to it, this appears to be, said the individual's name, whoever they are. They're using a PO box, but they make sure their last name is blacked out to protect their identity right here, because somebody uploaded this online, and you guys can pull this up from typing this in on Yahoo, maybe other search engines, as you see. But you see what I'm building you up for is I'm going to point this upper right hand corner. They leave it appears like the last digit off of this appears to be the person's social security number, which I'm going to tell you most likely, in my opinion, I believe it is. If you understand, you study this instrument, and these numbers at the top are what this person's account is trading at. Because I was explaining when I spoke to someone from the Bureau of Public Debt when I was transferred to the risk management department, the birth certificate just didn't invent itself, and the social security card. From the time that you're born, I won't go into all the details, but there's numerous information I suggest you read about online. That is not a scam. That your birth certificate is a form of a registered security. I'm not sure whether it's marketable or non-marketable. Keep in mind certain college classes, if you don't know how to look for this information, if you're not aware, if you've never been taught about the private sector, it's going to be camouflaged or encrypted on the public sector from the information that I figured out when I discovered some years back. Because no one in the movement that I saw for years mentioned that several things that were taught in the so-called sovereign movement or redemption movement are in a college class called business and law at major universities. It might be called just business and law, or the book or the class might be called business and the law. Generally, what I'm guessing, since I worked at a college in the past, a particular university that used to be in Dearborn, Michigan, before they moved to Livonia, I saw how the infrastructure of the school was ran, because I not only took classes there, but I worked in several different departments there, and I saw how things were run. So I'm telling you something from my experience, my skill set, something that I can verify. It might be under the finance department. From what I can remember, I have a very good memory, and I believe to be in some colleges it might be under a different category, because different universities or different colleges have different ways that they operate or do things. You may be able to go to your dean and ask, or you may be able to look up. They have generally books, different universities, to show the different types of classes they offer. The reason why I'm bringing this up is to give you all a point of reference when people out there try to accuse this information of being a scam or fake and saying it's not real. Now, I went from this instrument and I was going to go back to right here where I'm showing you guys, this is a government site well, website that's a division of different departments of the government. As you see, it says at the top, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And when you apply for assistance with them, they ask you for your social security number too, by the way. So you got to think. I'm just, you know, and then down here, it's giving you a description of the instrument issue date, but they're calling it saying part six is the check serial number. Okay, check number. Let's go to part D, saying check serial number. That's in this area. Let's see what E says. Check digit. Okay. Yeah, they're playing a little games here. They're not being specific because it's camouflaged. But if I go back to this instrument right here, oh, here you guys can see this appears Maryland. This was uploaded by someone online. Don't know who. And there's many other images like this. Two other examples. I just pulled this particular one up from what I typed up here. I did give a disclaimer, so to let you all know this is public domain. This was online. Treasury Paycheck Example images. I did this on Yahoo search engine. So I'm just showing you guys again. This was let me see, it's dated. It looks like this is back from '07, Austin, Texas. And this is believed to be this number at the top appears to be what their account is trading at, or their bond with it's accrued and interest over time, because your social security number QSIP is attached to your BC, and our BC's birth certificates are being pledged as collateral to back other bonds. This is something they're not telling you. They're not training their lower level employees on this type of information. When I spoke to the woman that worked at the Bureau of Public Debt, when I was trying to find out about that routing number that starts with 0517, and she was trying to say that they had meetings to tell her that it was a scam, and I was telling her, no, that's not true. They're trying to compartmentalize the information. They're basically trying to do damage control for various reasons. But I think that this information, they need to be more transparent. When I did the previous video about Wells Fargo and Equifax being caught with the fraud, Wells Fargo creating all of these accounts, without customers' permission, where they admitted last year created about 2 million unauthorized bank accounts and credit card accounts. How would they do that? For a fact, when you go open up an individual bank account, they ask for your social security number if it's for a regular account. If it's not a business account where they're not asking you for a tax ID number, but just that they're going to ask you for your SSN. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, banks are very strict about that. So how is it that Wells Fargo got caught? And they admitted, saying right here in this article from this website, had created about 2 million unauthorized bank and credit card accounts in a $185 million settlement with federal and Los Angeles regulators. At the time, it said it would pay $5 million in remuneration to customers as part of the settlement. Wow. But with banks using fractional reserve banking, that's just a slap on the wrist. That's nothing for them. When I saw some years back, I don't want to pontificate, when I previously mentioned Loretta Lynch, when she was on TV after she was just appointed as Attorney General, that I saw they had mentioned those banks that were caught, and Chase and Bank of America were mentioned, and HSBC and some other banks, and they paid out some type of remunerations or whatever for the suit for whatever it was. So just using this as an example, that when these people try to mention that these accounts are fake, what's fraudulent, and I'm gonna tell you, is they have been using our social security account numbers behind our back without permission. And then on top of that, they're blocking our own access. In my opinion, I think this is very dirty, and I think this is wrong. So you have every right to have access to these accounts. I mean, the least they could do is, in my opinion, is allow us to access these accounts. When you have people that still continue to work hard, who are struggling to try to pay their bills off, and these big banks just get a slap on the wrist, and they still have billions and billions of dollars. It's just, in my opinion, just it's not right. Okay, I'm going to go over some points from some personal notes that I took just so you guys know. I didn't want this video to be that long, but at the same time, I have very important information because people ask me, well, Dorsey, why don't you ever show proof? Why don't you go into the detail or whatever? This what I saw in some of the comments. I had to limit some of the comments because of the trolls, where I have to control whether the comment posts or not because of a lot of the negativity and cyberbullying out there. I have my comments set up in a controlled manner, just so you guys know, by the way. But the notes that I took, I already went over about the college classes, business and law, finance, and accounting books. Oh yeah, a friend of mine's wife, she gave me an accounting workbook from her college, and I noticed that in the accounting book, it had a section where it talked about marketable and non-marketable securities. So just keep that in mind. Another thing, part four, I'm going to go over. Okay, here it is, a third party check verification. I know you guys, many of you all that have been following this recently saw a video from Moneyboy he just uploaded about where he recorded it, the call where he called up Telecheck and confirmed that his account at the Federal Reserve was indeed real. And I actually already did that. You know, whether you're calling, for example, just to um, notify them of the accounts, I noticed that they were still able to pull information up when I did the same a couple of weeks ago, but I kept it low key. I told a few friends of mine, friends about this that have been following this movement to try to keep them up to speed. Because another thing I noticed, reason I don't put certain information out sometimes just to let you all know out there is because once a bunch of people, there's a lot of people who don't know how to be responsible with this type of information, and then there's a lot of con artists out there and people that don't have good intentions, and what they do is the powers that be also have to, the governmental agencies also have to protect the integrity of these institutions and the businesses. So they'll, when there's something working, sometimes they'll shut it down because a stampede of people gets a hold of information, and then there'll be a lot of people calling these places up, and that's what's kind of happened with Telecheck. I even heard they already changed their procedures, but the woman was able to look up and actually, the customer service rep, I should say, told me the functionality of the accounts that I was not even aware of at the time. I didn't record the call. I was planning on calling them back and maybe doing a recording of it to show more evidence. But if you just take my word and just see the evidence that I'm showing you guys right now, that she told me that I had an account at the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, and she told me that the functionality of the account, I was only allowed to write paper checks. And I asked her, because they can look up your social security number and see if it's a legitimate account there, because not just from you calling up to say you want to see if this account is up and running or verifying the account, but they had some type of way in the database, because I had her look up some other routing numbers and she said she didn't see an account there. And I was like, wow, like a different institutions or whatever. But because keep in mind that the elites are not gonna, they're not gonna come out and tell you this. Many of them are using these same strategies behind the scenes. They have the cheat sheet. They have the cheat book, the playbook that has all the answers and cheat codes, for example, as a figure of speech. They're not going to tell you your SSN numbers are what's that are attached to these bonds are backing these institutions and these banks. That's why many of our accounts exist at these banks. And when you put certain routing numbers in on Amazon and other places, they don't bounce back immediately, just like when you make a payment. And if it can tell if it's the wrong credit card number or wrong bank account number, it'll immediately bounce back. You know, because many of don't know that our accounts are being held at these banks, or they're being dormant, and the institution just gives you like a third party routing number. You know, so just you know, you guys can do your own research on that. And I'm gonna also go over well, I mentioned that already, how years ago the original SSN cards would say account number before they changed it. You have to think, why would they take that part off? Right here, when you go over, we scroll up to the top, you know, the old structure, and then they don't say account number on there anymore. Another thing that I'm going to go over to show proof, evidence that at these utility companies, they're using your credit where they're getting paid twice, they're double dipping, and they're creating derivatives as well. And I could elaborate more, but this video will be super long. I don't want this to turn into a webinar, but I just wanted to show you all enough evidence that these accounts verification, these accounts are real, that those memos that they put out, they're saying these accounts don't exist. They're lying to you. They're misleading you, uh, and that's inaccurate. For example, when I had an account some years ago, when I was being taught by the elites, I attended a private seminar called the Pastor Tony King Seminar. If you watched from my previous video, I went over information to mainly document. Now, I never personally, I never contacted the law enforcement, but I did for my own security and purposes, because these were elite people we were dealing with. I didn't understand what was going on at the time. I was asking some friends, some close confidants, some questions, and me and a private group of people, we had to do our own internal investigation to find out what was actually taking place and what was real. And I learned a lot of information. I do appreciate, you know, him putting himself out there like that on behalf to get this information out. At the same time, I don't think things really went that well. But as you see, without further ado, I don't want to pontificate, that this section right here, this set website, when the reason I brought that up is we had to get these bank accounts set up, for example, and I had an account at Bank of America at the time, and it was they were going to use, to make a long story short, the FDIC insurance bond, to where they were telling us they have these different strategies to pay things off. They were going to use the $250,000 bond that's attached to our SSN, because remember, your SSN, you had to get have a SSN number to open that account. But they were going to use the bond. The bank normally, if you close the account, they take the bond or tell you that's the insurance coverage. But anyways, when you close the account down, they were going to use the bond from the account to pay for our membership into the DTC. And they said there's other ways to pay the membership. Had increased from 100,000 some years back to 250,000. That's a depository trust and clearing corporation in New York, 55 Water Street, New York, New York. Now, now you may be wondering, why did I pull this page up dealing with the 1099 INT form, as you guys can see? Well, the account I had at the time with Bank of America, that was for a specific process. I won't go into the other part of the process, but it had to be an interest-bearing account. And that interest-bearing account, I discovered, if you make over $10 in interest from the account, which it's hard to do because the banks don't pay interest like they used to, from what I hear from people. This is another strategy the elites use to keep people poor, broke, and starving. They don't pay like high yield interest CDs like Barclays or Charles Schwab, just to name a few, or Fidelity or other types of institutions. They don't basically pay crap, but they sent me a 1099 INT form. Well, did you know that, I won't go into the detail, but when you receive a bill in the mail and your name is in all capital letters, that that institution, that company is using your credit. Now, there's a guy on YouTube that I won't say the name, but some of you all there might know who he is. He actually goes over and shows how he got a check back for his bill. And I remember Winston Shrout went over this information years ago, and I believed him. He didn't have as much the information, because they just, back then, he just had a lot of the basic stuff. So Winston Sharp was really good as far as that, helping wake people up, go over the basics, because a lot of research was done over the years. But you have to ask the question, why aren't these companies that are using our SSN credit, that are trying to claim that these routing numbers that we're using from this secret account is not real and fake? when they're not sending you the proper 1099 form, and they're stealing your credit, and they're double dipping. So let me show an example. Now this is a sample bill that I pulled up online. See, it says William Sample. See, it's in all caps. That's normally this coupon part of the bill. Did you all know that's already prepaid for, and you can claim this back? I won't say which type of 1099 form. Right here. This is the lowercase. This is the uppercase. See, right here it says John Doe. Capitis diminutiu. Okay. Okay, here it is. Okay. I had to scroll down further through the use of a medium loss. Okay, I didn't know about that. There's another type of capitis. Okay, here we go. It says capitis diminutiu maxima. This is the reason why they took Latin out the school system, was to dumb us down and hide this information from the general public, in my opinion, because the court system uses a lot of Latin within the legalese. And I did give a disclaimer, I'm no legal expert. This is not legal advice, just to reiterate. But as you all can see, this says capitis diminutiu maxima, a maximum loss of status through the use of capitalism. This is where some judges actually tried to help people that said that when they asked about the straw man, the judge told them, you mean the decedent? Are you referring to, these are documents that I read years ago dealing with this movement. The judge in certain instances will try to help people when people will say, I'm the secured party in my straw man name, because they don't recognize regular English. They recognize procedure, especially on the statutory side. There is another way that people go in on the private equity side, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to be very well studied with your terminology and words. If you know how to turn the court into a common law jurisdiction, or turn the judge into a chancellor, there's a way to do it from what I understand. I don't know all the details, but I'm just giving you an example. The court system is encrypted. This is the same way in commerce when we deal with our bills, these TDA accounts, all this stuff. I was taught by the elite, so I know. I'm telling you something I know for a fact. But here, if you see this word right here, it says in lingus, a creature law, artificial being that's contrasted with a natural person, applied to corporations. They made you a corporation. They also didn't tell you when there's a reason why your name is in all caps. It's not the document. Okay, yep. It says most people understand the law is very precise, with legalized deadly violence attached to the words appearing in the text of the codes that are enforced by both courts and police. The English language and its accepted rules of grammar are likewise precise, however, and make no accommodation for proper nouns to be written in all capital letters. The all capital letters written name, which appears on your social security card, driver's license, passport, bank statement, credit cards, etc., and which is rigidly enforced by the legal system, is not there by mistake. Key, see, I circled that, highlighted, as the law is very precise, but it is not your version, but it is not your true name. Excuse me, I jumped ahead a little bit. But it is not your true name, which appears with only initial letters capitalized. The all caps version is the name of your mirror image straw man, and it's written in another language entirely, legalese, which I just mentioned to you guys. Legal. Now they talked about the lowercase. This is what this is: capitis diminutiu minima, a loss of status. You have to read up on this, guys. So in the court system, this is known as the in lingus. So, but you guys, I didn't want to get too far away. Okay, I'm already at 34 minutes. Okay. Dealing with the TDA accounts, providing proof that the secret trust fund straw man is real. These accounts do exist. Yet the Federal Reserve and the Bureau of Public Debt put out a statement insisting these accounts don't exist, which is I've proven to you from this video that's not true. You're being lied to, ladies and gentlemen. Don't believe that farce. You just have to research and study further into this matter. What they're saying is bogus, and they're trying to cover their tracks, because with the information that this past summer that went viral from Harvey Dent's videos, is that they're waging a public relations campaign where they're trying to hide this and cover this up and any wrongdoings they've committed. They don't want you to know. They're not going to come out and tell you this information. My cousin told me years ago, even with when you discharge debt, and there's a way when you send, like people were using the A4V process to the IRS, there's another more advanced method. There's even a method I helped one of my former girlfriends out with years ago, and she showed me where they removed it from her credit report at a Borders book. So I've had success in the past with even assisting others, and she actually had got more success than I had. I won't go into the details, but I had procrastinated. I never really at the time years ago followed through with that, but that method worked, and it also dealt with using your QSIP number on the particular instrument that was used to discharge the debt. But my cousin told me years ago, and this is for all those out there who are wondering, this is something that I know for sure. This is a fact. They're not going to come out and tell you. Now, maybe the system under the new banking system that's coming, the reform or the global currency reset, maybe they're going to be more transparent. I would hope so, especially for the people that are trying to obtain our freedom. Because I told a friend of mine, I feel like those of us who are trying to become free, let us access our wealth, our money that belongs to us. Those of us that know about these accounts, because people that are going to be irresponsible, then just punish those people. Don't punish everybody else as a result. Because I felt like when I attended the private Tony King seminar, they told us we were cut off from the black cards because people kept messing up, that they used it without permission. And that is what happened. I was going to probably do a separate Q&A video on that for people that had questions about that pertaining to the black cards. I've received numerous inquiries, and at the time, I'm not looking for any clients. Just to let you all know, I am, if you are in the Michigan area, looking for a judge or a lawyer or someone that can pour into the pot that can assist me, where it could be a win-win situation, because I'm not really looking for money, but I'm looking for somebody to be able to assist me in return, someone who's sincere. So if you are sincere, you can shoot me an email at Dorsey's Resource 2017 at gmail.com. That's what I look at to receive inquiries. And I vaguely will answer questions. I will do from time to time, but it's not a priority. I do have other private, separate emails that I utilize, but that's what I'm really looking for at the time. It's not, I've helped people in the past. I won't go into the detail, but that's what I am looking for specifically. It would be lovely, being the single guy that I am, to find a mate or some female, because I love female energy. I want the feminine energy to help balance me out from all this hell that I've had to go through all these years. It would be lovely if I could find a female assistant, because women generally have good clerical skills. I'm not trying to stereotype or anything, but I think a lot of guys out there, we need that support, and there are women out there I found out that are looking for this type of information, assistance. So it would be a win-win, like a win-win situation if I could find someone in the Michigan greater Detroit area. It could be like the suburbs, Farmington Hills, maybe not too far, somewhere I could get to. That's what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for that type of assistance to build an infrastructure, because I don't have the staff or clients yet to assist people on a massive level with all the inquiries that I've been receiving about that video that I did about the black card. But I didn't want to deviate away. I hope I provided enough evidence in this video um, that the account exists. And I'm going to go over this one last part, because this video is already going over 30 minutes, maybe going on 40 or more. Is that this particular routing number is just one of the routing numbers. As you can see right here, this is public domain, what I typed in on Yahoo from images. And right here, this appears to be the person's social security number attached to this particular Treasury routing number. You can look this number up online and see this is issued to the Treasury, but they have other numbers. So they are using our accounts. So I don't know where these people are getting this thing from, saying that the social security number on the front is only for identification purposes. It's not an account number. When the original Social Security card said account number, but mighty funny they removed it. Why did they remove it? They didn't want you to know. And then why aren't the companies sending you the 1099s back for your bills? They're still in the credit. And I was gonna say earlier, I feel as though they have enough slaves within the system, people who want to be brainwashed. Because people say if you access these accounts, that who's going to work? They're always going to have enough people to work. People will just believe what the public side sector tells them. But the part that isn't fair, that's not equitable, is how the elites you have honest, well-meaning people with good spirits that want to access our secret accounts, as some people may call it. It may be referred to as under a different name, but keep in mind, I won't get into the word game, the semantics, but they have enough slaves, I feel like, within the system. People who want to be brainwashed, people who want to, watch those shows that are not important, and things, and stay plugged into the matrix. They don't want to, and they're more of a liability. We are more of an asset with the information I'm going over and what we know. So that's my message to the powers that be. That, in my opinion, they need to just go on and let us access our accounts and quit lying to people out here saying that these accounts don't exist, and give people the remedy, have classes set up to educate people, those of us who are awake, that do need some more education and the proper literature, because these guys hold the cheat sheet. It's not that we're stupid or we're many of us are misinformed. And like I said earlier, to reiterate, the elites have the cheat sheet. And what's fraudulent is how they've been using our accounts, social security number accounts, behind our back. They didn't ask permission. And you saw what Wells Fargo and Equifax got in trouble for. Now you compare the two, on a massive level, and I think what PayPal was doing is that when people were, keep in mind, another more evidence why these accounts are real, when people were using that account number and it was linking up before PayPal shut it down, they were pulling money down from that. That's a secret loophole they had set up, but because it went too public, they shut it down. So I'm gonna close this video down right here. I didn't want it really to go this long, but you see the information that I covered in this particular video was action packed, was a lot of information that I went over. If you want to follow me, I'm on Facebook at Dorsey's Resource. I'm on Twitter. You can follow me at Dorsey's Resource. I don't have an Instagram account yet. A guy asked me that I saw follows me on Twitter. I forget his name. He has some photos with Russell Simmons, because I do have some connections to the music industry. You could probably save that for another video. And I spent some time in the industry myself. The group that I was connected with never made it mainstream, but they did. They were in talks with Bad Boy and So Def Records some years. That was some years ago. So with that guy, he asked me, was I gonna create a Instagram account? I'm working on it, but like I said, I don't have a staff yet. Just wanted to let you guys know. I want to thank you guys for joining me. If you did watch this video, this is more become like a webinar now. So I think I've definitely gone up to at least 40 minutes or more. But I want to thank you guys for joining me once again. You can follow me on Facebook at Dorsey's Resource, on Twitter at Dorsey's Resource, and I'm on YouTube at Dorsey's Resource. With that being said, you guys have a good one. Take care. Peace.